Okay, great. Thank you, Jim. And thanks for having us today. Welcome to our journey of a document. So today we're going to follow the journey of 2 recorded documents from start to finish. We will follow a deed from its creation by a title company from the time the order is placed by the customer. When the title company sends it to the Register of Deeds, we'll talk about the processes that the deed goes through there. And then we'll hear from the real property lister and what their process is. We will also take a look at the journey of a certified survey map from the time the order is received by the surveyor and the lengthy process he navigates through before making its way to the Register of Deeds. We will again talk to the lister as they create a new parcel. Then it goes to the GIS Mapper, who in our panel, the GIS Mapper is also our real property lister, Michelle. She wears both hats. Our examples will demonstrate the process for Rock County. We have 29 different municipalities. Michelle, the real property lister, is responsible for 27 of those municipalities, including all of the towns, the villages, and the small cities. Rock County also has 2 larger cities, as some of your counties probably do. We have the city of Beloit and the city of Janesville. Their assessor's office handles their listing process for themselves. Every county and every city has their own methods, every lister's office, every Register of Deeds office. Then they might be a little bit different, but we all probably follow similar processes to the ones that we're going to share with you today. Every title company and every surveyor may do things a little differently as well. So we're here to share with you 2 examples in their simplest form. So please go ahead again, as Jim said, and put your questions in the chat and we will answer them as we go. Our journey starts at the title company after you buy a house. And this is Deb from Land Title.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. And I will start out with the journey of a document for the title company. How does a title company come up with the information to prepare that deed that will continue on its journey through the other departments? Kind of excited about this because no one ever knows what a title company does. Why are we paying for a premium? What do you do? Can I just go to the Register of Deeds and do it myself? You probably could, but I don't think I would probably trust that. So and I also want to mention this too. We rely heavily on the Register of Deeds, the real property lister, surveyors when they're involved with title work, and our cities on their mapping systems. So one thing that we do with every single order that we have is we have a map with it. We look at a map, we compare that map to what the city or the real property lister has to make sure that if there's anything wrong or there's any gaps or anything, we're going to address that on our journey, which I'll explain later. So the first thing we do is we receive the order. We usually receive most of our orders from realtors, some lenders order, some attorneys. There could be other entities that just want a simple kind of a search to see who owns the property. But that's where it begins, as an order in our office. And after we receive the order, we put all the information into our database. And the next thing that happens here is that it goes to the search department. And this form that we're going to show you here is our own title company, land title form, but it is kind of our Bible on collecting the information in one spot of all the different areas that we have to search to come up with the information to create that document. So we do search the Register of Deeds office, their tract index, their grant or grantee index, and their federal tax lien index. We have to go back 30 years for the chain of title. So you can see on this search sheet form under names, there are quite a few set of names up above the purchaser's names. And that's because we have to follow every deed from 30 years back, search all those people and any liens that may have come against them, and bring that forward to the current owners on this particular property, or Nathan and Danielle Rogers. But we also had to search Kevin and Kathy Rogers, Mr. Estep, Mrs. Estep, Mr. Strombeck, and Mrs. Strombeck, because they were the ones that finally got to the deed of Nathan and Danielle Rogers, and that was 30 years back. We also then on the right side, across from those names are our little setup. But Laredo is what we check at the Register of Deeds. Party is the grantor grantee index federal tax lien. Title search is our own judgment database. CCAP is the statewide system for liens and judgments. We check divorces. We also check child support liens, and we check probate. We also check taxes. Are they going to be paid, postponed, or delinquent? That's on our form as well. And we also are checking, when we check liens, we're checking child support liens, condo liens, construction liens, diller liens, judgment liens, state tax liens, medical assistance liens, Medicaid estate recovery liens, maintenance liens, broker liens, all kinds of things, and they all have different statutes of limitations. So judgments are 10 years. State tax liens are 20 years, but some of them, if they were filed prior to 2004, never expire. So there's all kinds of different dates and things that you have to keep in mind when you're searching these names for judgments and liens. Is this lien still good? Is it a judgment? Is it 10 years? You know, what may be. So we also then put here in the middle of the document, we put down when we have, what we find, if we find mortgages against the property, anything else like that. And I want to mention, because later on we're going to see this, but the things I've highlighted in green are after the transaction closes and we record the documents, we come back and we have to update the title again from the date that we had on our commitment, which in this case would have been February 13th of 2020. And then we update it through, as you can see up there in the top right, February 17th, 2020. So those are the items that we found that are highlighted in gray. We search the names again, we search everything that we did the first time, so that we can make sure, we've taken care of all the liens and we've got whatever might, have happened on this transaction. So this is kind of our Bible, I would say, when searching the property. Now, our next step in the process is basically preparing our title commitment. So we take all the information that we've gathered on this search and we put it in the form of a commitment for us to insure title. So what we're going to show on this first page is just very informational. 2A is basically the name of the new buyer's sales price. 2B is the lender and their mortgage amount. Number 4 is the vested in title fee simple, Nathan S. Rogers and Danielle Rogers. So they're the current owners. And then we have the legal description on this property. Very simple for that. And then the second page is just tax parcel numbers 1, and we put the computer ID number on there too as well. The next page on the title commitment is referred to, I think, there we go. Schedule B, Part 1, requirements there. And what that is we are saying as a title company, at the very minimum, this is what we're going to need to ensure title to this. So what we're calling for here basically under the numbered items is a warranty deed from Nathan and Danielle Rogers to Charles and Ann Jacobson. We have found through our search that the last record title owners came into title as Nathan S. Rogers and Danielle Rogers. So that's how we want them to go out. If they've had mortgages along the way that maybe have Nate Rogers or just Nathan Rogers, or maybe she was called Danny Rogers somewhere, or Danielle S. Once we find all those name variations, when we call for this requirement for the deed, we are going to add those name variations. So we're going to say Nathan S. Rogers, AKA Nate Rogers, Danielle Rogers, AKA Danielle S. Rogers. So we want to kind of group all those name variations and send them out of title with all those name variations to the new buyers. And then we're calling for a mortgage on this one. And then the next slide is Schedule B, Part 2, which is our exceptions. This is exactly what it means. These are exceptions from title. And this is what we found. Every title company has 1 through 8 on their title commitment. So those are just standard things that we are not going to insure unless we're provided with something that will allow us to do it. But number 9 going forward are items that we check on this particular property. And at number 9, we always check taxes. We're going to say if they're paid, postponed, delinquent. There's happens to be a mortgage on this property, or was with the Rogers, to Bank of Milton at number 10. And then the next page we go to is, or is that it? Nope, there's one more. This is a continuation. They also have 2 mortgages on this property. And then we also in our search found a Wisconsin child support lien against a Nathan Shade Rogers. So because his middle name is S, we are going to show this, child support lien. And if it is not anybody's, we'll have an affidavit signed, but if it is, we'll have to get a payoff of that. And then in our search too, by looking at the plat, we found a building setback line. So we take all the information that we searched on the land and the names, and we put it in the form of this title commitment. And this is what is sent out to all the customers. And this is what our next step then in the process is given to our closers, and they're going to be processing and preparing for closing. So what they do then is they take the information from the title commitment. We have attorneys on staff, and they will be drafting the warranty deed based on what our title commitment is calling for. So they're going to draft that warranty deed that's going to convey title, and you'll see that later in the slides. They order all the final payoffs for any loans or liens that might be outstanding. On this one, there were 2 to the Bank of Milton. So we'll take care of getting that information. We order special assessment letters because they can create a lien on the property. So we want to make sure the title is passing without any liens to the new buyers. We order final water bills from the municipalities because if they go delinquent, they can create a lien on the property as well. And then we basically put all this information onto a document called the settlement statement, which is basically your credits and debits for buyer and seller. So when we're done with that, the buyer, you're going to bring this money. The seller, you're going to receive this amount of money. So what we do then is schedule a closing. They all come to closing and sign their documents. We collect all the money. We have all the documents, the deed. And once we have everything we need, and we have the seller's signatures, and here's the deed, and the buyer's signatures, we take this information. Now you can see how they're going to convey title out. It's the very same as our title commitment requested or required. It's got the legal description, return to tax parcel number, and then they sign it, and this document is notarized. And once we have all this collected, we disperse the money. We give copies to the realtors and the sellers and buyers and lenders. And then our final step in the process is to disperse. And we take this document and the e-return, which I'm sorry, I didn't mention that. It's the e-return that we prepare as well. That has some pertinent information that has to go to the Register of Deeds, and they forward that on to the Department of Revenue. So this then, since COVID, and we're going to continue doing this, we actually are e-recording. It's a wonderful thing. And I know that the Register of Deeds likes it as well, so we're not going to stop that. It's pretty slick. And at that point then, and you'll see once you see the next part where Sandy's going to go over the document, our last step in our process is preparing the final title policy. So once we have all the liens paid off, once we have the deed recorded and the mortgage recorded, we update the title work again. As you saw on our search sheet, that was the green highlighted thing. So we update it again so that we can see that the deed has been recorded. And now, number one, the insured of the property now are no longer the Rogers, it's Charles and Ann Jacobson. They have fee simple ownership interest in it. And that's the legal description. We're insuring it for the sales price. And then the second part of this final title policy then will show, again, 1 through 7 are normally on every title commitment. They are, well, they're not normally, they are, unless, again, we are provided with something to remove them. But we're now showing that the 2020 taxes are not yet due and payable. So we know all taxes are paid. We're showing that there's a brand new mortgage that the Jacobsons entered into with Educators Credit Union at the closing. So we're showing that this is, you know, Schedule B of this. And then we're also showing that business setback line or building setback line that we saw. So this then document is sent, there's a loan policy sent to the lender, and then the owner's policy gets sent to the new owners. And the title company always retains a copy of that in our database forever as well if somebody doesn't have it. We also tell them that they lose their deed when it comes back to them, that the register of deeds will always have it. And Sandy will tell you about that. So that's kind of our start to finish on this journey. We receive the order again. We perform the search on names and land. We draft the commitment. So we basically get all that information put into one document. We process the closing. That's order and payoffs and everything else. We actually have the customers to closing where we get the documents executed and notarized. And once it's done and we disperse, we send all the documents that need to be recorded to the Register of Deeds. And once we get those documents back, and I should back up too, if there's a problem when it goes to the Register of Deeds, they will notify us and we'll get that corrected. And then after that, we draft the final policy and then that file gets scanned and put away. And that is the journey from the title company.
Thank you, Deb. Before I continue, Jim, did you want to do the questions in the chat for Deb?
Yeah, we could do that before we do this transition. So let me read a couple of questions you got while you were speaking here. First one is from Gail, are historical redlining covenants looked at?
No. Are they? Okay, that's a good question. The records that we search are public records. Those are documents recorded in the our Rock County Register of Deeds. We search circuit court, but we only search the small claims judgments or any judgments that the plaintiff or creditor would be paying $5 to carry it over to branch 1. We do not search non-docketed liens. So the public record basically there is branch 1. There's a lot of people that will say, well, I have a small claim. Well, if you didn't pay the $5 to docket it in circuit in branch 1, then a title company does not have to search that. We do not search zoning ordinances. Anything like that is not searched.
Okay,
Don't know if that answered the question, but
I think so.
Okay.
Next question, then we'll move on. This is from Eric. What are you looking for when searching the previous owners? If they sold via a warranty deed, wouldn't that searching have all been done at the time of the previous transaction?
It should have been, but I will tell you in my 37 years that previous title companies have missed things that maybe were filed or recorded against a previous owner. We have had, if we're doing the only way that we can rule those out is if we get a prior, we call it prior title, but if we get a prior title policy from the owner that's currently of record, which they should have gotten had they gone through a regular closing at a title company with a lender and title insurance policies were issued. Now, back in the olden days, when I first started, it was abstracts. And there were attorneys that would render their opinion on those. Those we very rarely see anymore down here in Rock County. But the only way, so for example, if we're searching previous owners and we find a judgment against one of the previous owners was Harold Estep. If we find that on our search 30 years back, and let's say that it's only 5 years old, let's say that the current owner is only 5 years, we are going to show that lien. And then it's going to be up to, we'll notify the sellers obviously, but they're going to need to find their owner's policy or get a copy of it or get us something that shows that wherever it closed before, that previous lien was taken care of. Maybe it was a lien against Harold Estep, but it wasn't him. So there would have been a judgment affidavit signed at the title company and that gets put in the title file. We don't record those, but it gives us the confidence to be able to go ahead and issue clear title. And if anything ever happens, we would go after that previous owner and say, you told us this wasn't your judgment. It was, now we're going to go to court. So we can't just trust going from the deed forward unless we have prior title work up to that date of the deed. Hope that answered that.
Great, thank you. In short, it's complicated, right?
It's complicated.
All right, Sandy, if you want to take it from there.
Sure. Yep. I will take the next leg of our journey when the document is received in the Register of Deeds. We receive it in a few different ways. We love to receive them electronically. We call that e-recording. We can also receive a deed by mail or in person. When we receive it is important because Wisconsin is a race notice state, and that means that if we receive two mortgages on the same day, we have the mortgage that's received first has first position and it has priority. So they have some rights. So we have to make sure that we are recording documents in the order that we receive them. So the first thing we're going to do is, this is the deed that Deb may have sent over, and it's we're going to review it. We're going to look for certain requirements that are required by state statute. And starting with the blank space in the upper right-hand corner, we've got to have a blank space there to put our recording stamp on. We are going to look for underneath that a return to address, so we know where to return the document to after it's been recorded. And we're looking for complete names of the grantors and grantees, a complete legal description. We have to make sure that it was signed and notarized and it has a drafted by. We also check that e-return and make sure that all those fields match. If any of these items are not complete or missing, we have the statutory authority to reject that document, and we would. It would go back to the submitter either in e-recording fashion or in person, mailed back, whichever way it was submitted. We're going to reject it the same way. And the beauty of e-recording is that if she submitted it through e-recording and I reject it, she can perhaps fix that and send it back in minutes versus waiting both directions for mail. That's why we all like e-recording. So the next step will be to record the document. We found no problems with this document, so we're recording it. We are going to put our recording stamp in there in the upper right-hand corner. Michelle, if you want to zoom into the recording stamp a little bit, we're going to put on there a unique consecutive document number, our Register of Deeds name, county, state, the date and time that it was recorded. The recording fee is all in that stamp, which in Wisconsin is a flat fee of $30, no matter how many pages the document is. We also have in that stamp the transfer fee. That this case, it was $1,224, which tells me that the sale price for this house was about $408,000. If there was no transfer fee, then there would be an exemption number that would be the reason why it was exempt from paying a transfer fee. And we have the page count in the doc stamp. And we also have a page count at the bottom of the page in the tiny letters in the lower left-hand corner, which we include the document number and a page count on each page of a recorded document. The next thing we're going to do is index the document in our office. And that just means we're going to pull out information off of that recorded document. And the fields that we pull out of there are shown on this screen. We're going to index the type of document that it is, the recorded date, the signed date, the grantor's complete names, the grantees' names, the parcel number, legal description, any associated documents that it may have. These are all the fields that are searchable. So this information goes into our database, and this document can be found by searching on any of these fields that we've indexed. Then we audit the document. That's just double checking, getting another set of eyes on it, making sure that we've caught all of our steps. And then we return the document to its submitter, which is the address that's shown on there. If it's an e-recording, then it's just emailed right back. So that would be the end of the journey for, you'd think that this would be the end of the journey for this document, but once it's recorded, now this image has been, it's stored in my database forever. And we maintain that permanently according to statutes. There's the statute, I won't bore you with reading it, but that's what we have to keep this document forever. Now, so this image is now the actual legal copy. So as a review, we take a look at the deed, we record it, we index it, we double check it, we return the document to its submitter, and then we maintain that image permanently. And that's the end of our leg of the journey.
But wait, there's more, right?
There is more.
I'm not seeing any questions, so I would say, Michelle, continue on.
All right.
All right, thanks, Jim. All right, so now we move to the real property lister portion of the journey of a recorded deed. So in Rock County, we use Fiddler software. Sandy uses Fiddler software. So we will retrieve the document using the Laredo software, and we will verify the owner. We're going to look at and make sure that Nathan S. Rogers and Danielle Rogers is the people that we have on the record. If for some reason there's somebody else on the record, we're going to search to see if we can figure out if perhaps a transaction was missed or something to that effect. Then we're also going to verify the legal description, make sure that perhaps the Rogers may be sold 10 feet to their neighbor. So we would want to make sure that that was reflected on this document if that did in fact happen. If we do find an error, we have a form letter that we send out that just says, gives the document number, the recorded date, document type with the names of the grantors, grantees, and we say there appears to be a discrepancy regarding, check a box, and then we say your prompt attention is most appreciated. And we have a very good working relationship with all the title companies in Rock County to get issues resolved timely. So then we are going to log into the Department of Revenue Real Estate Transfer Return System. And that's where we get the information about where to send the tax bill. And then also in that system, we are going to log the official parcel number. So this is where we verify for the Department of Revenue that yes, this parcel number that was entered into the real estate transfer return is in fact that legal description. And they use that for sales tracking and for determining equalized value. So then we update our assessment database with the new owner's information. We have an internal QC process in our office where we have, I like to have different set of eyes look at each document. And then we provide data updates to the assessor at least twice a year or as often as they request it, because this is just a straight transfer of property. We don't actually give them deeds. They just get like a data output that they would load into their software. So in review, the real property lister will retrieve the document, review and verify the owner and the legal description. We will notify the parties if there's a discrepancy found. We will check the real estate transfer return for the tax bill mailing address and log the official parcel number. Enter the name changes into our database, double check to make sure that we did it right. and then provide the municipal assessor with data updates.
So I found a quote. I discovered that a fresh start is a process. A fresh start is a journey that requires a plan. And I thought this was appropriate because what requires more planning than a certified survey map? Right, Jeff? So that's our next document to follow in our journey. In our next journey is the journey of a certified survey map.
Well, thanks for the intro, Sandy. And thanks for all your guys' support. These three ladies here, we all work very closely. Anybody that thinks otherwise is a fool. And of course, all of my clients, as Sandy kind of alluded to, think that dividing land is very simple. They call and expect to have it done by next Tuesday and don't understand why Deb wants to charge them and Michelle and Sandy have all these requirements. But yeah, so our process begins with obviously receiving the order from the customer. And unless it's a repeat customer, for me, that process, quite honestly, begins with quite a bit of client education. Most people don't have a clue or understand what it takes to divide a piece of land. Even though they own it, it's been in my family for hundreds of years, and it's mine. They don't understand that there's rules and regulations. And Sandy mentioned earlier that there are 29 municipalities in Rock County that in some shape or fashion, probably at least 2, if not 3, have say in every land division that occurs, because it could easily be a township, the county, and the extraterritorial jurisdiction of one of the larger cities. So we begin by educating our clients on what is required and advising them on what those requirements are, who the players really are in the game, and what they're going to have to provide us to get the process started, up to and including a copy of the deed, so that we know what we're beginning with. And then we begin the application process and asking for permissions from those municipalities. Again, everybody's got their own application. The county has a very standardized applications, pretty straightforward, you know, the who, what, when, where. And a lot of the townships have adopted this same document or are using something that's very, very similar. Some of the townships are a little less sophisticated, if you will, and don't quite use something this simple. Sometimes it's just a letter of intent, and others are even more sophisticated and have a very rigorous application process. But these all applications are all accompanied by a map, and through this process, even before we submit to anybody, I've probably talked to a title company, gotten copies of the last deed of record that they have if somebody's just bought the property and they're looking for a line and looking to divide or whatever, or gotten information from Sandy. And on a lot of the older farm surveys where we're doing a farm separation, somebody bought 40 acres and now they want to divide the buildings off because the bank doesn't want to loan money on 40 acres. They'd rather loan it on 5. That involves a fairly rigorous discussion with Michelle. Oftentimes we end up back to the old tract index and looking up things from long ago, but it all comes back to, you know, the public record and how we interact with that. So even when you divide land, obviously there's been talk already about zoning. And Deb's process doesn't insure against zoning, but it's certainly something that we're very cognizant of and make sure that any proposals that we make or any divisions that we propose are compliant with the zoning rules and the codes that make up those rules. That process is probably going to involve another set of meetings. It's going to take more time and drag our land division process out. I might mention that if everything goes super smoothly, a land division, we tell our customers up front, this could be at least a 90-day process just to make the meetings, public hearings on zoning changes, to make sure that everybody has their chance to get in on that. And again, this is all clerical things. We still haven't put a tripod up or measured anything. So that's a very time-consuming part of our process. Once we start getting approvals and get things going with the municipalities and realize that the project is possible or feasible, up to this point, we've done a lot of our applications and our work up front from the public record, which again, in Rock County, we have the luxury of it being very robust, very reliable. We make most of our submittals from the public record. And now that we've got approvals, we cut loose with the actual field work and putting actual dimensions, bearings, distances, et cetera, into a map that we can, again, then finalize and submit to everyone for approvals and conformity to the applications. We'll leave all the details of survey out, but again, the clerical end of this, quite honestly, takes as much or more time often than the survey itself, because now we've got to gather all of the necessary signatures from all the stakeholders in this, owners, mortgagees, and again, the municipalities, Rock County, Greene County. I'm not sure if it's statewide, Sandy, or not. You could weigh in on that, but the folks that we deal with on a common basis all require that the treasurer sign off because they don't want any outstanding balances on this division, because at the end of the year, nobody's quite sure how to prorate that. And well, I got 5 of the 40 acres, so do I prorate that or how does that work? So they've just put an end all up front and make sure that the taxes are paid before anything's divided, and eliminates a lot of question on the backside, I believe. So
I think that's a county, I think it's a county ordinance, Jeff, but there's probably several counties that have that in place, I would guess. Yeah,
Greene was doing it first, I know, in our world, and Rock adopted. I quite honestly, I like it. It seems to clean things up. But again, gathering those signatures and getting this to a process where we've got now a certified survey map with real dimensions, data, all of the improvements shown. We've now written a legal description that's going to be the basis of describing the land that we started with and what the divisions of that land are going to look like, whether it's a 1 lot or a 2 lot. Obviously, a certified map, you can do up to 4 parcels. So that process, again, shown briefly here, and then the signature pages subsequent to these are all things that we need. And again, in Rock County, we're not e-recording CSMs yet, so there is but one original document of the certified map, and that has to be handled carefully and shared with everybody because it's a one-of original. And of course, it gets filed and recorded in the courthouse in Sandy's office. And everything else that goes back out to the clients, the municipality, our records, et cetera, is a copy of that. So, so this is the document pre-signature. Once we've gathered all the necessary approval signatures, the owner, the notary, everyone else that's involved, then we get it down to Sandy. And again, as everybody else has indicated along the way, we have a fairly rigorous checklist process before anything goes out. That survey was actually produced by the other surveyor in our office, and I generally redline her stuff. She generally redlines mine. And again, everything is, you try to make as many checks as you can because nobody wants to try to file an affidavit to correct something that should have never happened. Although we're human and those things do escape the office. So hopefully we can get this to the register at this point, get it recorded, and And again, that's what we do with it. Our last, my last parting shot to all of our clients is, now that we've done the survey and done the division, I recommend that they all contact a title company, and that title company will probably refer them to an attorney, and again, draft a deed so that everyone can take title to their respective lot 1 and lot 2 of that map, because until that deed, again, we've done the division, but until they record a deed and actually physically take title to those lots, it doesn't exist in everyone's eyes. So again, we receive the order. We spend a lot of time advising our customers, educating them, and trying to help them through the process, facilitate their needs, applications, meetings, and then again, the field work itself, and then back to the clerical end of things, where we're gathering signatures and then finally getting things recorded. So that's how we get to the point where we're doing a legal description to make it turn into something that can be turned into a deed.
Okay, well, thank you, Jeff. So by the time that certified survey map, or CSM as we like to call it, gets to the Register of Deeds office, the hard work is already done. We do have a rigorous checklist that we use, and you know, it's kind of tiny writing, and I'll go through them, some of the highlights on the document itself. Once we get that into our office, we're going to make sure that it conforms to statutory requirements. So first thing we're going to do on the next page is we're going to make sure that the document is on legal size paper, that it's durable paper, it's not just copy paper. If you want to go to the next screen, here we go. We're going to make sure that the first thing it has to say at the top is certified survey map, and it has to say that on every page. It has to have a valid legal description. The lots have to be numbered consecutively. The surveyor must sign and date every page towards the bottom there. Got to include a graphic scale, which is next to Kristen's signature. The pages have to be numbered, and way down in the corner, this is 1 of 4. Then on the next page, we have the surveyor certificate. We basically are making sure that it has one. We don't map them out in the Register of Deeds. We don't make sure those figures, the bearings are correct. We just make sure that it has a surveyor certificate and that it is signed by a Wisconsin professional land surveyor. And the other signatures we're going to double check are the owner's signature. We want to make sure that the owner has signed if land is dedicated to the public, and that there's a notary there. Jeff, did you want to add to the signature of the owner?
Yeah, and actually I was reading ahead. Some of the questions were popping up. Somebody had asked a question, can a surveyor do a CSM on a property if the individual requesting it does not own the parcel? It's kind of a complicated answer, but a certified survey map, again, is a map that is dividing something. So in that case, that person would be a developer, and you could request it, but the owner still has to sign off on it, which brings me back to Sandy's question. Our office, statutorily, the owner only has to sign a division map when they are dedicating or doing something where they're giving something up. So if you were just subdividing something that was already lot and block, you know, you own lot 3 of block 6 of a subdivision, technically you wouldn't have to have an owner certificate according to the state statute. But in order to stay in the good graces of everyone else, our office requires it. Quite honestly, just as a protective action for us and everyone else down the chain, there's no reason not to have the owner sign off on it. That way, you've got some guarantee that the owner's aware of it. And nobody comes back and said, well, you divided my land. You did something. Somebody took title to something that I didn't authorize. No, you signed it and it was notarized. So I don't think it's a bad idea.
Right. Okay. And then besides the owner and sometimes the mortgagee has to sign also, we're looking for signatures from the municipality. In this case, it was the town of Beloit, and the county had to sign off on it. And in this case, the city also had to sign, another municipality, because of the proximity of the property. Also, the treasurer signed it. And then at the bottom of that page is the Register of Deeds certificate that I'm going to sign it. And we are also at that point going to assign it a volume and page. As Jeff said, in Rock County, I know some counties are e-recording certified survey maps. Some of them, there's different levels of it. Some are recording paper maps, but not keeping them in their office. So far in Rock County, we are still recording paper CSMs, and we keep them in the vault forever. So we are assigning a volume and page. And then once we get that done, we can record it. So again, we're going to put our recording stamp on there with the unique document number, all the pertinent information. The one difference is that we've got the certified survey map volume and page included in the doc stamp there. Then we index it with similar information to what the deed was. We've got the type of the document, recorded date. Oh, sorry. Okay, we've signed it and assigned it a document number here. So then our office indexes the information. We are indexing the owner's name, all the same things like the type of document and dates, the legal description of the land where it's coming from, and also we're going to index it with the new legal description of the CSM lots. And as I said before, we're going to store that original in our vault. And now that we do have to reference those new CSM lots, because now that is the new legal description. So any reference made to these lots in the future should be to those CSM lots. So that's all for my step.
I was just going to add in, oh, you go ahead and review. Sandy, do you need to review?
Oh,
sorry.
Sure. We just go over our checklist and make sure that it has all the required elements, record it, index it, and double check.
I was just going to say, we as a title company, if there's a new certified survey map on record and we need to do a title work on it, maybe somebody's, as Jeff had mentioned, is going to split it. Now there's going to be a sale of this piece off. We also look at that new certified survey map and compare it to what we have for a search for that current owner to make sure, for example, if they did have a mortgage and the mortgagee did not sign off, we're going to call for an affidavit of correction or something like that. Now, our local surveyors are awesome, so they don't miss anything. But we have had, I mean, obviously everywhere, there's lots of people coming into different counties. And so that's one thing we may catch in a search too, once a new certified's been recorded and now they want a sales of one of those lots. We're checking too to make sure that the correct people have signed it as well, because we don't want to insure it, especially if a lender has interest in it and didn't say they would do this.
Okay, Michelle.
All right. So moving on to the real property lister GIS specialist leg of the certified survey map journey. So again, we're going to retrieve the certified survey map from Laredo. I'm going to check for land division approval, either from the local municipality or or the county. And then I'm going to look at if there are any special districts involved that could cause me complications when I'm listing the property. So perhaps if the lots cross section lines or cross municipality lines, or if there is a school district line in the middle, or TIF district or a lake district or a sanitary district. I just need to we need to make sure we keep track of all those special districts so that we're not accidentally sort of changing the boundary. So then I'm going to look at the map. I'm going to look at the legal, and I'm going to do a quick review using, we have, paper maps in our office or using our interactive GIS to help me figure out if this is making a new lot or if it is combining lots. And then I'm going to look at this owner certificate that is on there, and I'm going to see if the name of the person who signed matches the assessment record for who we have as the owner. And then I'm going to make some notes on it about which tax parcels are involved. We don't retire tax parcels in numbers in Rock County, so we just assign new descriptions for the following tax year. So then we're going to enter the new parcels in our database, update the legals. Then the certified survey map goes to the GIS specialist. Also, as a second set of eyes, they are going to, in the process of drawing it on the GIS, they're going to verify that it doesn't accidentally cross somebody else's property a little bit. They're going to double check that we've picked up all the right tax parcels that are involved in the certified survey map. And then they're gonna update the map with the new line work, adjust the polygons as needed, and make sure everything is attributed with the correct tax ID number. Then it comes back from the GIS mapping to the property lister, and we're going to QC our data entry. And then we file a copy of the certified survey map to give to the municipal assessor for their work roll the following year. And so in review, we will retrieve the certified survey map. We'll check for approvals, check special districts like school district, TID or TIF district, lake and sanitary. We will verify the legal, the owner, assign the tax IDs, and update our database. The GIS specialist will verify and update the map, and then we will check it all over again and give a copy to the assessor so that they can assess it appropriately the following year. And
so we have arrived at the end of our journey. Please wait until we come to a complete stop before you disembark, because we do have time for some questions.
Wow, look at you guys. What a transition. You've practiced this. Well, thank you. In all seriousness, thank you. This is wonderful. I know I learned a lot, and I think there's a lot we all take for granted, to say the least. So virtual applause for you all, so very much appreciated. We do have at least a couple of questions that have come in, and we have a little bit of time for those. I'm just going to read these real quick here. First one I think is for you, Sandy, and that is, what kind of storage do you maintain for all these historical documents?
Well, of course, we all have a lot of volumes in the vault, but now all of our volumes have been scanned all the way back to the beginning of our time, which is 1835 as our oldest document. All of our images, all of our documents have been scanned. So we're working on getting them indexed. We're back to about 1979 with full indexing of grantors, grantees, and tract. They are, we use Fiddler for our storage, and we're going to be maintaining them forever.
Awesome, thank you. So there's been a few other questions I feel like have been answered by other folks in the chat, so I'm going to skip around a little bit here. The next one I think is maybe for you, Michelle, and that is, if you don't assign new parcel numbers, how are the splits handled for taxes? Who becomes responsible to pay?
So Rock County doesn't divide tax bills. So if so in the case of this certified survey map, which makes 2 lots, we would, for the following year, update the new owner for lot 1 and lot 2. And then for the existing year, they would have to request a divided tax bill from their local treasurer or work it out amongst themselves.
Great, thank you. In the interest of time, I'm going to ask one more question. I apologize, we're not going to get to all of them. And this is whoever can answer it best. What percentage of the time does rezoning get declined?
It depends. Again, I work with several townships, and I mentioned to be as politically correct as possible. Some of them are less sophisticated than others. There are times where the rezoning and division of land, and they'll play both ends against the middle. What they're really against is taking away any farmland. And anytime someone wants to divide productive farmland off and create a lot as a buildable lot, they'll use that as an excuse. And I've seen land divisions denied, be it right, wrong, or indifferent, because someone didn't want to take productive A1 ag zoning away and turn it into a A3 5-acre piece. So I don't know if that answers the question, but I've seen it happen. Rare, but it happens.
It depends, as always, right?
It does. It does.
Great. Well, thanks once again to you all. This has been wonderful, very educational. I think we're going to leave it at that. So one more time, virtual applause. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you all for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.